Sahajiyas when they approach Radha Krishna Nitya Leela. I was an impersonalist when I joined, so I only knew about Brahman, and this is all in Brahman. I knew about moksha. I want to give up this material world of suffering. I wanted to find a guru who can teach me how I can reach moksha quickly. And before that, I came from this hippie world. Oh my God. Many of the hippies actually told me I saw the light. I said, really? I also tried to see some light by rubbing my eyes, no? And sometimes there was like a little, some little lightish, color show, light show type-ish, discotheque things flickering in front of my darkness, but I wouldn't see any light. As they were saying, they were seeing a light. Well, I really wanted to see a light also, you know. And then others, they said, they got the enlightenment and they got the self-realization. So I was obsessed with this. My favorite slogan was, which I used to preach, wherever you go, you'll only find yourself. And people liked it. Oh, what a nice philosophical saying, you know. And I was not really well read. I was well read in socialistic literature, but I wasn't well read in esoterics or in even what I read of the yogis, Paramahansa Yogananda, autobiography of a yogi. So I had a little bit of the jargon of what they were talking about. So I was looking for this. But one thing I had, and maybe that saves me even today, that I was convinced that I didn't know very much, and I was convinced that I had all to be discovered ahead of mine, and that I wouldn't discover it unless I get grace. But one tends to forget that. Oh, it's so easy to say, I got grace already. I'm a graced person. Grace is with me. Now I can distribute grace as well. No? What an arrogance. So how do you do that? How do you get to say, oh, I got grace already? And says, you have to become a sahajiya. You have to declare that you got it. You found it. You understood it. So, therefore, Srila Bhakti Rakshita Maharaj, he told us, if somebody says he found it, he has it, then we offer our respect to him, but from a far and safe distance. Nothing to do with you. You found it already, you have it already, you reached the top, the climax of this. Oh yes, really? Yes. Be God with you. And save you from wherever you are. So, very, very touchy, isn't it? You know, I mean, and the whole thing is very touchy. But here you go and looking after moksha, and then you start hearing about Prema Bhakti. What is that? What is Prema Bhakti? It's more than a quantum jump, I tell you. And you have to jump over, you even have to jump over Aishwarya Bhakti. Aishwarya Bhakti is where the Lord's worship is awe and reverence by his devotees. Like Bhakta Prahlad, Dhruva Maharaj, Pandavas. You're supposed to jump over them to come to the sweetness of Madhurya Rasa. The Pandavas are not dancing in the rasa dance. Hey, have you thought about that? Not even Uddhava is dancing in the rasa dance. He gets to preach to the gopis and bring them a letter. He knows something, he's a little bit informed that there is something. If you read the books of Gaur Govinda Maharaj, because they're coming from the Jagannath Puri side, there is an appreciation of this. The Jagannath Leela, not Jagannath is Krishna, but he's not in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is Gundicha. He's in the palace with Lakshmi, He's taking care of universal affairs. And the devotee says, come on, it's enough there, come on, let them do it, we take you to Vrindavan. That is Ratha Yatra. So, here you go, want to take Krishna to Vrindavan, and you know nothing. Loving spontaneous service. Yes, this is very, very dangerous. It's so dangerous. And sometimes I long for my impersonalist days. Or not so much them, but of something more easy, more safer to approach the infinite. But this whole falling in love with the infinite topic, it is so advanced. And it doesn't accept anything less than full surrender. It just doesn't accept anything like slowly or something. No. It accepts you gotta go the whole way. You gotta be there completely. You gotta go the whole way or you probably go astray. Boy, that's tough, This is very tough. It is called Sarvadharma Parityajya Mam Ekam Sananam Braja. That was Srila Maharaj's explanation of the Sarvadharma Parityajya shloka. He says, we have to follow the devotees of Braja. It's not a common interpretation. It's when Srila Maharaj published the Bhagavad Gita, it was very funny. He only had 14 purports. Very interesting. I had a long story in this. That was a long story. So many long stories. It's almost not public, but I tell it anyway, so you understand. So there was one of my godbrothers. His name was Bhakti Charuswami. And he used to go with Sarva Bhavana. He used to go to Srila Maharaj. And whoever went to Srila Maharaj, you could not but get affected. His poetic way of telling people about Krishna, his sweetness, his demeanor, his Vaishnavism, his generosity, his appreciation of Prabhupada. I mean, he just blew you away, that's it. You were bound to run away or to fall in love with him. So Bhakti Charu and Then Srila Maharaj at one point asked Bhakti Charu if he could translate his Bhagavad Gita to English. Then Bhakti Charu said to him, why do we need another Gita? We already have the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Srila Maharaj's answer was, supposed to be, I wasn't there when it said, just because you have the university level of studies, it doesn't mean you cannot have a postgraduate study on the topic. This is tough stuff, you know. It's good to tell the truth because most people don't know it. And this is one of the topics I didn't put in the search for purity. So, Bhakti Charu at that time received an invitation because this was at a time when more people were starting to go to Srila Maharaj. Actually, Bhakti Charu and Sarvabhavana were amongst the first batch. And they were just going, they didn't live there, they stayed in ISKCON. But when there was this story of Jayatirtha going there, and it was like becoming an issue, even I was involved unwantingly to catalyze the process. Because it was 1983. 1983 I was appointed, I was the president of the regional secretaries and temple president committee in Mayapur. So this was something in ISKCON they had, that one of the temple presidents who became like in charge of that group to speak up for that group in front of the GVC, so that group also had some input, like different parliament legislation levels or something like that. So at the same time, everybody in the whole ISKCON movement was in search for answers. The zonal guru system was having heavy bloodshed here and there, and there was like people were like suffering a lot. So then Jayatirtha went to Srila Maharaj, and the GVC announced in this year 1983, anybody goes over to Navadvip, he cannot come back to ISKCON. At that time already Dhira Krishna was there and a few, and Srila Maharaj had not said leave ISKCON. He said, go, make your service in ISKCON, I'll give you some ideas. He wanted to help ISKCON to get on its feet. He didn't want to take people to make a new mission. That wasn't his intention whatsoever. So when the GVC made the decision and they passed those rules to the temple president board, and then I was sitting there and I got those and I read them out to the temple presidents, and then I said, listen, I said to them, they sent Jayatirtha there because they sent him to Srila Maharaj because he was going wacko. He was taking drugs and doing things like that. And so, I don't know, had sex with different women or something strange he was doing. So, then I said, so on one side you issue an prohibition to go there, or you can't come back. On the other side, you send your own man there. So we don't want this. You come up with a clear line. Is it or is it not? What's right, what's wrong? So as a temple president body, we voted in that sense as my proposal was, and we said to the GBC, you have to come up with a clear line, stop this half and half. Because we said Sarvabhavana is going up. Bhakti Charu was in his sannyasa. He was one of the examples. So at that time, the GBC came out with this total prohibition. They gave Jaitirtha, I think, 2 days time to decide whether he wanted to be back in ISKCON, or him and all his disciples will be ousted from ISKCON, or they had to take a new guru. And that was a violent time, wow. Should have seen that. It was like movie ripe. Definitely. Make a hot shot movie. If anybody interested in this type of things. Anyhow, so Jaitirtha decided to stay with Srila Maharaj, and the violence went further. Bhagavan met everybody, said, now you have to be all... They told the disciples of Jaitirtha, because many of them were staying in ISKCON, because that was our home. No? They told, now, either you go with your guru, and you're never back in ISKCON, or you take initiation today, or tomorrow or something. Because I didn't want to do that. When I made the proposal that they should have a clear story on what they want, what's the instruction. No? But in a way, indirectly, the whole thing was catalyzed. At that time, the GBC, or maybe a little before, I don't know, offered to Bhakti Charu. They said, give up Srila Maharaj. If you go to Srila Maharaj, so many people will go to Srila Maharaj. Give him up. We give you Australia. You'll be the guru of Australia and what else, something else. Oh yeah, he wasn't the guru. They made him a guru and said, now you have Australia, like one of the chunks of the ISKCON pie. And Bhakti Charu accepted and became an official anti-Srila Maharaj preacher in ISKCON. Whenever somebody was attracted to Srila Maharaj, they sent him to Bhakti Charu. And I had written the letter, so I was sent to Bhakti Charu. I was one who was supposed to be deprogrammed against Srila Maharaj by Bhakti Charu Swami, who had been a friend of mine. Plus, in Rainy Park, Calcutta, the conversations took place. Boy, sorry I didn't have a recording machine with me those days. We didn't do such things, Actually, I didn't. Some people did, So Bhakti Charu said, Srila Maharaj is not good. I had already met Srila Maharaj, so I knew who was Srila Maharaj. And I was on my way of confronting the whole GBC with the document about how ISKCON can be saved according to the wisdom of Srila Maharaj and Prabhupada, of course. So I was inside, I was attached to him, and they knew that. But I hadn't put it out in writing. The whole paper which I gave to the GBC, the 14-page letter about the situation of ISKCON, didn't mention Srila Maharaj one time. Everything from Sri Guru and His Grace, his classic Guru Tattva scripture, every single point, I researched them from Prabhupada's books, and I brought the same argument, quoting only Prabhupada. In the whole paper, I didn't mention him because I knew if I mentioned him, he had just been a few months banned altogether from ISKCON, just going there. So I knew that he wasn't the person to quote. So the GBCs knew that I had some inclination there, or the gossip, in the gossip wine it was. So they sent me to Bhakti Charu to get deprogrammed. So Bhakti Charu said, yes, Srila Maharaj. I said, why did you give up Srila Maharaj? What happened to you? Oh, he said, because he said Prabhupada's Gita was just university level and his Gita was postgraduate study. So when he said that, I said, no, he's against Prabhupada, he feels he's better than Prabhupada, blah, 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 blah. I said, Bhakti Charu, my dear Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur alone published 3 versions of the Bhagavad Gita. And then we have Vishwanath Chakravarti and this commentary and that commentary, Baladeva Vidya Bhusan, and Prabhupada made his Bhagavad Gita as it is. And then I didn't read Srila Sridhar's Gita yet at that time. I just argued from common sense, because I loved Srila Sridhar already. Thanks God, I went through the deprogramming without being deprogrammed. And I couldn't reprogram him because he had a gender. It was a motivated thing. Sarvabhavana was the same. They offered him something. Come back to ISKCON, give up Srila Sridhar. Sarvabhavana had his son already initiated by Srila Sridhar at that time. Anyhow, then I said, no, Bhakti Charu is he sold his ideals and his love for a position in an institution. I'm not going to be influenced by him. And I said, you see, there was still the large gap of giving the answers to all the problems which hadn't been found in the institution, at least. So that was then led up to the 84 climax, then, which I was telling you this morning a little bit about. Anyhow, so Srila Sridhar Maharaj, in his 14 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, which actually brought me into this subject of telling you this story, because this morning we were into telling stories which had not been told. Because so many details, actually, most people can't relate to the details either, and they don't know the people involved, and then it's not, becomes very theoretical. So these 14 verses, they are all reference in the Bhagavad Gita towards Madhurya Lila, Madhurya Prem, Gopi Prem. Those who surrender to me, I will give the intelligence how they can come to me. All this way, where Srila with a sweet touch takes his interpretation all the way to Braj, to Gopi love of Krishna. That was his 14 explanation of Bhagavad Gita. And in their discussions, private discussion with Srila Prabhupada, that was the stuff they were talking about. Once Srila Maharaj Prabhupada visited Srila Maharaj, and Achyutananda was him. Achyutananda Swami, I heard that story from him. Because you're usually not there. You're usually, how much of the nectar you see, you just get bits and pieces here and there. So, and they were having it off and chuckling everything in Bengali, and Achyutananda didn't speak enough Bengali to pick it up. So then in the end, when they went back, said, what did you discuss with Srila Sridhar Maharaj? Srila Prabhupada looked at this and said, if you would know, you faint on the spot. Wow, huh? Another anecdote I tell you about Srila Sridhar Maharaj, absolutely unknown, was Kulasheka, my godbrother from England. I'd worked with him when I was Sankirtan leader in England. So, one point I met him and he told me this story. He said he was in Mayapur. It's probably It's probably 76. Must be almost 76, or maybe 77, either. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj comes over to visit Prabhupada. And Kulasheka, he was in Mayapur in those days, and he wanted to give something to Prabhupada. They didn't know what to give to Prabhupada, especially, what can you give Prabhupada? So he had this funny idea and had made a pair of kartals of pure silver. I mean, kartals sound the best in bell metal, but he went in Navadvip and got a jeweler to make silver kartals. And day before, or that day when Srila Sridhar Maharaj came, he gave those kartals to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, silver kartals? I mean, you don't get silver kartals every day, so even Prabhupada raised his eyebrows. Wow, what's that? Like a special thing for a special person. So Prabhupada accepted the silver kartals, and Kulasheka got to sit as a door guard. It was always that Prabhupada always had a door guard, so you couldn't just bump into Prabhupada's room. No, it's not a bad idea sometimes. I just hate it to have a bulldog in front of my door. When Sadhu Maharaj came to see Srila Prabhupada, he was the son of a king, and his grandfather was a dear friend of Prabhupada. But the bulldog was there. He said, "No, can I come in? Prabhupada is busy." Some people are also busy, so they come and make their way all the way to your door. Then you meet some guy, say, "No, you can't meet him. He's busy." So Sadhu Maharaj experienced that. No, they said, "No, Prabhupada's busy. Can I come see him?" I mean, then what do you see? Do you want to say, "No, he should see me. I'm important. You can cancel his other engagement. Tell him." Very awkward. Actually, Prabhupada was in the room with a bunch of GBCs talking something. But somehow or other, by the arrangement of Krishna, Prabhupada heard the commotion and asked, "Who is that? Who is there?" Then the bulldog had to come and say, "Prabhupada, some guys says for Mungir Mandir." "Mungir Mandir? Come in." So Sadhu Maharaj hadn't met Prabhupada neither back, but Prabhupada's grandfather was very dear to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada had traveled in this area, Varanasi, Mungir. He had sold in his days. Mungir's temples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were absolutely fantastic, unbelievably beautiful. The Prema Mandir. So, and Sadhu Maharaj has told that story very often. I don't have to repeat it. How he met Prabhupada. Anyhow, so how did I get then the bulldog experience? I don't have a Kulasheka. So Kulasheka was put as Prabhupada's bulldog for that day. Or him or sit. Sometimes there were two sitting. No? So Sridhar Maharaj came. And that day, it wasn't like for the installation or anything. It was actually a visit between two pure devotees. Prabhupada must have invited Sridhar Maharaj. Those details neither Kulasheka knew, but Sridhar Maharaj came alone. And Kulasheka in front of the door. And they brought Prabhupada's prasadam. And Prabhupada ate with Sridhar Maharaj sitting on the ground, both of them together. Oh, I don't know if it was before the prasadam or after the